on June 30th of 1953, the first Chevy Corvette rolled off the assembly line. So because of that, we are going to celebrate with top 10 coolest sports cars.
Vroom vroom.
Let's run them down.
Fun fact: there are now 8 generations of Corvette, and the base model has 475 horsepower in its V8 motor. Move on.
Number 10, Chevy Camaro.
Yeah.
And I got the yellow one on here.
Hot.
Yeah, yellow is that's a good yellow. There's an ugly ass yellow in the early 60s models. They came out in the early 60s if I'm not mistaken. 62, 63, 64, somewhere in there. Right along with the Mustang. Um, they have a cockpit feel if you haven't been in one lately. They come in multiple trim packages, RS, Z01, etc., etc. They do come now with a 2.0 twin turbo motor, 4-cylinder, instead of the V6 that they used to have, the 3.6 V6. They also still have the 8-cylinder. And like I said, then you got the ZL6, which is 600 horsepower-ish. Very heavy car, too. Right at 4,500 pounds.
So that was all information I never would have looked up or I've never. I was gonna say that this was a hot car in the 80s and 90s. Like, if somebody came to pick you up in this car, you were jazzed. You were like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!"
I owned a Camaro one time. It was a '98 5.7 automatic.
What color?
T-tops, red, of course.
Yes.
So the only thing I didn't like about it was an
T-top.
automatic, but that son of a bitch would go, and it had the T-tops. And yeah, I mean, you guys are old enough, as am I. The T-tops were hot when we were
Hell
growing
yeah,
back
they
in the
were.
day. That was some hot shit when you had the T-tops.
And the louver
So-
window thing on the back.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I'd fly in that thing. And the thing is, like, I drive. Well, we'll get to it because it should be on the list. If it's not, I'll cry. But I drive a Supra now. The difference in the Supra, weight, acceleration, performance versus that Camaro, it's freaking night and day. And that had a 350 in it. The Camaro did. So anyway, last year they made it, 1998.
Number 9,
Oh, and by the way, I'm the car guy on the show, and I'm not really much on the car. What? Whoa, whoa.
I love
Whoa.
this car.
Whoa. Read the caption. Chevelle is not just a band. This is my number one car. The Supra did not win. This
I'm
is my
impressed.
number one car.
I'm very
1970,
impressed.
1971 with the 454 in it. That is the dream car.
It's a sexy car.
It's a gorgeous car, and they were all gorgeous. It's better than the Chevette. I think it was better than the Camaro back in the day. I've always loved these cars. Oh, and before we get too far into it, because I know there are other options, there are certain criteria for sports cars, and these two have matched. They got to be quick, fast, 2 doors, performance, loud, exhaust. All of those things matter. The Chevelle certainly qualifies. Now, they made a lot more of them with the 350 than they did with the 454. But the 454 is a little bit more elusive, and it is my dream car. That's the one I would have. 71 with the 454.
I mean, at least your dream car made the list. Mine didn't even make the poll list. Thanks, Terry.
Yeah, Terry
Google
left
it.
it off on purpose.
if you Google it, it doesn't say sports car anywhere near it.
Whatever. For me, it was the sports car.
Number 8, the Ferrari 308 GTS. I believe this is what Magnum PI drove.
Good luck finding one without a salvage title. That is no bullshit. These things will split like a damn aluminum can. They're very expensive, hard to rebuild. Pretty car, but and certainly part of the big race with the Ford versus Ferrari. If you've all watched the documentary, yeah, I mean Ferrari's okay, you know.
Again,
If you
super
got
hot
money
car.
to spend.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, I
You
mean,
didn't see so many of these
that-
on the road.
they put a shell one time on a restoration show. Yeah, they put a shell of one of these on a for the shell, the body, $500,000.
Whew. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, good
Number
good looking
7.
car. And look, that's the other thing. Hold on. Back up. Colors matter in sports cars. Bright
Agreed.
red, yellow, plum crazy purple, the greens, the oranges, those matter. So the best car colors came out of Dodge. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. Gobstopper green or Ghostbusters green, Ecto green. They had plum crazy purple. They had Dozer. They had the orange, the Mandarin. Fantastic. Anyway, go ahead and show us the Shelby, Terry, because we already
Number
saw
7, Shelby Cobra.
the Cobra.
Look at that. Good God.
Yeah, so Shelby and Mustang Ford are not the same people. Shelby partnered with Ford to put Shelby motors in F-150s and Mustangs, but Shelby himself was actually one of the Le Mans creators as well, that took off facing against Ferrari and such. But yeah, this Cobra is a sweet car. That's a sweet car right there.
It is. And wasn't Shelby one of the guys in that movie a few years ago?
Yes. Absolutely.
Ford versus Ferrari or whatever.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because Shelby is the one who came up with all of the different ways to tune the vehicles. Because even today, if you buy a Shelby Mustang, they're about $100,000 stock, and you have to special order it, send it out, have it certified. It gets an authenticity. It gets a letter. It gets a number. All of that sort of thing.
Wow. Fancy.
And that is a Ford Mustang that has a Shelby. So the Shelby GT500 is an example.
Yep.
And they're about $100,000. And the 350 they quit making, but they'll probably bring back. Those were about a 75-ish.
Okay.
All right. Number 6, the BMW M Series.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go with all of the different options for BMW, so I just chose one here, and the M Series 1.
This is
Yeah,
what
so
a
the-
mom. This is what a mom drives if she wants a sports car.
Yeah, so the M Series, there's different packages. There's competition packages. There's all sorts of different things you can do. You can tune them. You can dyno them. You do all of that sort of stuff. Every one of them is going to cost you high 5 figures, if not 6. Brand new, and particularly when you buy the comp packages with all of the different ways that you can adjust the performance of the car. They're nice. Here's the warning, folks. They're German. So German vehicles, no matter what they are, sports cars or other, are the most difficult to work on and most expensive to work on and typically the most prone to breakdown. So when you think German vehicles, Volkswagen, obviously here's BMW, European, I guess, not necessarily German, but European vehicles are your issue. And it's just the differences in the way that they're made. And that's 13 years in the car business. So that's why I can say that. Volkswagen's absolute shit. And they are the sister car to the Audi, for those of you playing along at home. A Volkswagen and an Audi, same car. So if Terry's got the R8 on here, the baby Lambo, then we'll see.
Number 5,
What?
Lamborghini Countach. That's just, to me, the most recognizable Lamborghini.
Yep.
It's the one you think about. It's the one I had the Hot Wheel of when I was a kid.
I was going to say, it's the Matchbox or the Hot Wheel car. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It's
does
cool.
nothing for me. I mean, it's just
Never
it's
going
like
to have one. Yeah.
nostalgia. And that's the other thing. Some of these cars that we're pointing out on this show, good luck trying to find any piece to them anymore.
Yeah.
So
Allison has a
this one, for me growing up, this was the sports car on the posters in guys' rooms, in girls' rooms. This was the car on the poster.
Video games had
Yeah,
the
video games, correct. They were all, to me, styled after this.
Yeah.
So Andrew is 100% spot on. Nostalgia. I look at this and I think of my childhood.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, good luck finding any
Yeah.
components to them that aren't. I mean, they're going to either be in someone's garage or they're going to be wrecked. There's one or the other. There's no middle ground when it comes to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4, Chevy Corvette.
Yeah, 8 generations at this point.
That's crazy. 8. Amazing.
And I
8
just went right in the middle.
generations.
I don't know what generation this is, but it was kind of in the middle of them. And I just grabbed
It honestly looks like a C3, maybe a C4. Fun fact, Allison talking about 80s vehicles. The 1980 Corvette had less than 200 horsepower. Think about that. It was a pallet of bricks. So, but yeah, that is an older gen, Terry. They've done a lot with them. There's technology safer. Here's the thing about a Corvette, though. And this isn't true for all of these cars. Corvettes are the garage queens of the car industry, at least in America. It is not uncommon to see a Corvette average less than 5,000 miles a year, usually closer to 3 or 4. Around here in North Carolina, most of the time they spend in the garage. They're the weekend car. The other thing is your ass is about on the ground, and they are some of the most uncomfortable riding vehicles on the road.
Not like your Supra.
My Supra is phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, this particular car, like I said, they're on the C8 right now. And they've got multiple versions of it. You can get a $100,000 Corvette if you want. And then you can get the ones that are lesser, but they're still 85-ish or whatever. And they're few and far between post-COVID. So they don't make as many of them as they used to.
I did also have a Supra Hot Wheel. Just to throw that out
Nice.
there.
But the old Supras now, they appreciate. That's the other thing about certain cars, sports cars in particular. Some of them aren't going to be worth fuck all. Other ones are going to be worth money because of the way that they're made. So the Corvette, the Camaro, excuse me, they're talking about 2024 being the last year for the Camaro, and they're going to try to do a retool. So think about that. From the 1960s forward, the Camaro has been out on the market in multiple, versions, and all of a sudden it's going to be gone. Mostly because in this country we think an electric car and a sports car are the same thing, and they are not. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
We had that option.
I do not think it made the list.
Well, there's
Which
3
one did
more
you
to
put
go.
on the list? The Tesla?
The Tesla Roadster, yeah.
I would say I didn't know if you put the Tesla or the EcoBoost on there, because they've got a Ford. The Ford Mach-E is the 4-door all-electric Mustang. Now, before Terry goes to number 3, because now I'm getting tangential, the sumbitch is 196 miles to empty. So it's 196 miles on charge. Here's the problem with it, especially if you've ever ridden with Allison Faye or myself. We got a little bit on the heavy foot side. On an electric vehicle, and this may make sense to most of our listeners, there's no combustible motor, no combustible engine. So the minute you put your foot to the gas pedal, all of the power goes to the wheels. Yeah. Now, if you hot rod the son of a bitch like it's got a full tank of gas in it, and you squealing the tires and showing ass, you ain't gonna get no 196 miles out of this thing. We had a guy drive a Ford Lightning, which is the electric truck, and he put a boat on it. This sumbitch was supposed to go close to 400 miles. He didn't make it 200 miles pulling that boat with an electric truck. Had to have an emergency jump start and tow to get him, because there's no towing places. Right. And he's got this big ass boat on the back of his truck. And these are the things people did not think about when we said we have to have all electric vehicles, eliminate fossil fuel, lessen our carbon footprint, blah, 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 blah. Logistically, the country's not ready for electric cars. That's my position. What's number 3, Terry?
Hold on. I'm not even ready. I'm not even ready for electric golf carts, much less cars.
Better not be an electric car on number 3, because this is a sports car list, sir.
Number 3, Ford Mustang.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Yeah, 60s. invention. Multiple, again, you can get a Shelby, you can get a GT. You can get a base model with a 4-cylinder motor that still does 305 horsepower. So just keep that all in mind. Most of the time now, folks, they're automatic. People do not drive manuals. So if you go to the car lot looking for a standard or manual transmission, good luck. Most of the time they're going to be automatics or shiftable automatics because the mass public does not drive a clutch vehicle.
Trying to remember the last one I had that was an automatic. I think I had a Celica that was standard, and that was the last one I had.
Yep. And this would be a 6-speed, not a 5-speed, and it would still be in your standard H pattern. Reverse in the bottom corner.
Number 2,
Porsche
Porsche
911.
911 series.
Mine.
Terry
look
said
at-
it all. Terry said it all
bougie.
bougie like.
Yeah,
It's
I've
a
been
Porsche.
thinking about that all
It's
week.
a
How am I going to
Porsche.
say this?
Yeah.
Most of the time, I say
was-
Porsche as well. Go ahead, Allison.
This was the car that my rich cousin owned. And why do I call him my rich cousin? Because he had this car.
Because he had this car.
Yes. So growing up, he would take, and I'll never forget this, he would take me and my brother to Roy Rogers in a Porsche. I'd be like, yeah, look at me. I'm so cool.
So I've sold or been part of 10,000 car deals. Either, I've sold personally over 6,000 cars, and I've, been a finance manager, sales manager, general manager, whatever. I've sold one Porsche 911 in my entire sales career. The best part about that is it was a 2005, I want to say. It was an old one. This was back in the day now. The guy was out of California. He wired me the money and sent me someone who I believe was from the Eastern, bloc in the Red Mafia to pick the truck up because his name was Sergey. And Sergey owned the trucking company and took the car back to California, of all places, from North Carolina. We got all the title work, paperwork, everything was legal. But this guy bought a Porsche 911 from me years ago now. It's the only one I've ever sold. Wow. Only one. First time I had an experience with a Porsche 13 years ago. I was a young salesperson.
That's not where I thought you were going with that.
No. Oh, God, that was 20-some years ago. What's wrong with you? You can't do math. So, first time I had that experience with a Porsche, it needed brakes, and it was over $4,000 in 2011. So,
No.
yeah, spendy.
Thank you.
Spendy. Terry,
So
what is the number
listen,
one?
hold-
Wait.
Uh-oh.
What?
I know what the number 1 is.
Oh.
And I think we have to question somebody using multiple
Accounts?
or something.
Oh.
Number
If it's-
1,
If it's a Supra, it wasn't me.
the Pontiac
Oh, no.
Firebird.
This is all-
Firebird, as I spelled it here.
Birdbird. This was all, I voted this number 1.
Most
So-
recognizable sports car for a very long time.
I mean,
Yeah.
this
I came close to buying one myself.
was so hot, and if it had a bird on the hood,
Oh, yeah.
forget it. Game over. Game over. This was the
So-
car driven by guys my parents were afraid of.
My sister married a guy that the first time we met him drove up in this very car.
So this car is the Camaro, but it's not the Camaro. And you don't tell Pontiac Firebird drivers they're driving a Camaro.
No.
Particularly the old ones. But this is also the car that built the company I worked for. So Smokey and the Bandit came out in what, 71? Does that sound right? 70 something.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway.
I can look it up real quick.
So the company was on Old Market Street in Smithfield at the time, and maybe 78, whatever it was. It was in the 77. Okay, so it came out in 77. So Smokey and the Bandit came out, and the owner of my company's, the founder, his name was Deacon, was his nickname. So it's Deacon Jones. That's what I work. That's who I work for. He ordered, whatever, every single black Trans Am and Firebird that he could get his hands on, because it was out of Smokey and the Bandit. And they sold them and sold them and sold them and sold them, and he continued to reinvest his money and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, in 1985, they opened up the big building that we still have 40 plus years later, or right at 40 years later. So,
Smart move.
The Pontiac Firebird and the Trans Am built the, I don't know, $300-400 million company that I currently work for, or at least it was very instrumental in doing so. So even though the Supra did not win, we're going to talk about it because Allison loves this car. I own a 22 Supra. It's a 3.0 twin turbo, 385 horsepower. It is 3.86 seconds to 60. So it goes 0 to 60 in 3.86 seconds, and Allison could attest to it. It does go that fast. As the little boys in Alabama learned going down the mountain in their Mustang. We were only doing over 100 for a few seconds.
A little bit.
But the thing is, you can ask Allison as well. That car just glides. I mean, we're doing 100 miles an hour, and it doesn't even feel like you're going.
Nope.
Now, the thing about my Supra, and this is just a good example of sports cars. My Supra is one of 1,500. It's got flat gray paint and red interior. So the flat gray, phantom gray paint is what makes it special. It's one of 1,500 ever manufactured. After this year, there will be no more Supras for at least a decade per Toyota. So what they've done is they minimize the amount of the cars that end up out on the market. Therefore, your car maintains a higher value because you can't get them any longer.
Yeah.
So my car will lose, despite the fact it's a sports car, will lose value less quickly than everything else because of the way Toyota does business. So I was going to bring that up if the Supra won, but since it didn't win, that's one of the things Toyota does that other manufacturers don't do. Like Ford doesn't limit the production of their Mustangs. They limit GT500s, but they're not going to limit the Mustang. That's not what the Camaro. They're not going to limit the Camaro. The Corvette, depending on the Corvette, there are some limitations. But the Charger didn't make this list. The Challenger didn't make this list. And you can see those cars. I mean, everywhere you go, you will see a Dodge Charger or a Dodge Challenger. Absolutely. And they make the Challenger in 8 different trim packages now.
Frank from a V6 orange Charger.
Yeah. From a V6 all the way up to the Demon that does 800 horsepower. So, anyway, a lot of fun. Thank you all for entertaining me with my car list here, even though it was not my idea. Blame Terry.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
And let me tell you, and I kind of put this on social media. I went and looked, and I go to Wikipedia first. If I'm going to look for a list of something, Wikipedia had a list of 1,300 and something what it called sports cars. And I was like, oh crap, how do I whittle this down? So we talked about, do we just want to do American muscle cars? Maybe that's a list for later. But I thought my basis for this was, what are Americans who are going to be the ones voting for this primarily? What cars are they going to recognize? So it is a little heavy on the American cars, but I got some foreign cars in there, especially Japanese, because we know Japanese cars very well.
Well, and to your point, just before you run the list down, Aston Martin didn't make the list.
Right.
Bugatti didn't make the list.
Right.
Lambo, I didn't see. Did we have a Lambo? Do we have a Lambo?
Yeah, we got a Lambo.
It came in
we do
five.
have a Lamborghini. My bad, number 5. Sorry. We got a Lambo, we got a Ferrari, but we didn't have a McLaren. That one didn't make the list. So a lot of the R8, the Audi R8, which is literally a baby Lamborghini, did not make the list. It's about a $200,000 supercar. So
it's fine. Blame Terry.
It's a good
list.
Blame
me. I don't care.
But to your point, I would have never thought 1,300 sports cars existed.
Well, a lot
what
of
I was getting at
trims. Really. Like when I said the 911 series, that because if you go look at that list, there's like 20 different 911s on the list.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah,
Porsche 911.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
agreed.
So that's why I did that. But let me run it down.
Run it down.
And did I spell it right? Yes, I spelled it right on this one.
Here
I'll
you
probably
did,
go
yeah.
correct it on the other one. Number 10, Chevy Camaro. Number 9, Chevy Chevelle. Number 8, the Ferrari 308 GTS that Magnum PI drove. Number 7, Shelby Cobra. Number 6, the BMW M Series. Number 5, Lamborghini Countach. Number 4, Chevy Corvette. Number 3, Ford Mustang. Number 2, Porsche 911 series. And number 1, Pontiac Firebird or Trans Am. I threw that trim in there because people just say Trans Am sometimes.
That's correct.
And they don't realize that's just one of the Firebird trims. Anyway, good list. Thank you,
Good
everybody, for
list.
voting.
Good list.